Being a farmers cooperative, we talk about a better living for our farmers for the generations to come. We talk about better nature and better sourcing, making sure that it's 100% sustainable. Now, you might think, so what does it mean to have sustainability on a farm in the Netherlands? And sustainability on the farm, because remember, there is the farm and then there are the manufacturing units. On the farm, these are the three main areas of focus that we have. We talk about the carbon footprint of the farm itself. We talk about the biodiversity on the farm. So, of course, there is cattle, which is the primary role of a dairy farm, but there is a huge biodiversity that we encourage on these farms. You see in this picture these meadow birds, which are very precious for biodiversity, and of course, animal welfare. What is really cool about the farm, and just before lunch, we had this really interesting presentation from Yellow Door Energy, Rory. Really insightful presentation. What I'm really proud to share is how energy surplus these farms are. So a majority of our farms are actually energy surplus. They supply power back to the grid for the villages and nearby. We are using wind, we're using solar, and we're using manure, all for generating energy. Now, so that was Frisia and Campina, coming back to our region, to GCC, and all of us in the GCC, as we know, are high consumers of fresh produced food. And as we heard a couple of times already, 90% of the food in our region is still imported. Now, we've heard this again multiple times today, how COVID-19 forced the region, the countries, the governments to look at local food security. And we had Her Excellency, Mrs. Miriam, earlier in the morning, and she was emphasizing how innovation is going to play a key role in achieving the food security objectives of UAE and of the region. And I don't know if everybody here is aware that UAE has now a stated ambition of becoming the most food secure nation, along with some of the other commitments that we heard earlier about net zero, but also UAE intends to become the most food secure nation by 2051. And so what might that mean? On one hand, you have the challenges. On the right side, you see all of the challenges. The agriculture doesn't come without its environmental impact. We have high production costs. There's scarce water. We know the conditions we live in this region. And yet we believe that with innovation food production systems, and again, Her Excellency spoke about some of these things earlier in the morning, the vertical farming, the hydroponics, we can get close to this ambition that we have of becoming the most food secure nation. Now, as we think problem, and we were saying, how do you tackle this? We want to look at what all today we know about the problem itself. And we were trying to see if there are studies that help understand what the consumer is looking for. A key part of the ecosystem retailers, we haven't spoken much about, but we are selling through retailers. And then there is the government. And therefore, we invested in some research ourselves to go to the consumer to understand how does she look at sustainability, to look at retailers' sustainability ambitions, but also interview retailers in UAE and in Saudi Arabia about what are your sustainability plans. And then do the same thing with the government. There's, of course, a lot of available published, but also interview the right people to understand what are the government's objectives. Basically, we're asking ourselves, today, 90% of the food that is being imported, are we getting it in the most sustainable way? Is sustainable sourcing? And then, how do we find this commonality between what the consumer is looking for, the retailers are looking for, and the government is looking for? And my next chart summarizes all of this in one simple grid, although if anybody more detailed research, we are very happy to share. What was really nice to see is whether it's the consumer or the retailers or the government, actually a lot of the interests are aligned. And this at some level makes the job of us in the food industry somewhat simpler to execute. Concerned about nutrition, the right nutrition. We spoke about organic a lot in the morning. They are concerned about climate, very concerned packaging. In the packaging panel, we heard how the awareness of our consumers in this region, particularly in the UAE, towards packaging and recyclability is very high. And that there was one specific area, which is food security, which only came up when we were interviewing the government. But the great news here is quite some commonality of the interests or the needs from these three main stakeholders. And we in the food sector, we can actually address these. And I'll share some ideas here. They're hot starters, they are not definite solutions, they're not a definitive strategy, but I think we in the food industry can pick these ideas up and execute them in the way our companies can do a good job. So when you look at consumers, they are clearly expecting brands to be more responsible towards the environment. This thing about climate, the thing about packaging came up multiple times in consumer conversations. They are expecting the food industry to introduce more healthy, more balanced options. They're expecting us to introduce more fortified products to fight non-communicable diseases. And they are expecting us to have that is recyclable. They're happy to be involved in the recycling process. I think the gentleman Rizwan from My Dubai was sharing earlier that it's an initiative and they're able to collect back their bottles, which I thought was really quite remarkable given that it is a relatively short period of time. It was not a massive campaign. Not only are consumers aware of packaging, the need to recycle, but they're happy to play a role. And it is our responsibility then to engage to this process. Am I audible? Sorry, we're missing the sound every now and then. The retailers have a heavy sustainability agenda also, sometimes even bigger than the industry. And have we done enough to understand what our retailers are looking for? Earlier, Rory shared just before lunch the efforts from Majid Al Futtaim in what they are doing towards helping UAE become net zero. And I think we in the industry can do a better job in understanding what the retailers are looking for. So have we understood what the retailers' sustainability plans are? How can we help them meet their goals? How can we help them reduce their carbon footprint? In the whole recycling, packaging recycling process, actually retailers can play and should play a very important role, and they're happy to be involved. Are we engaging them enough? And that's again a call to all of us in manufacturing. And again, any conversation with the retailer for us in food, they emphasize how the healthy eating portfolio is growing way faster than say the normal portfolio that we have. So are we joining with them in driving their healthier eating portfolio? Last and definitely not the least is the government. And with the government, it has to be very much about partnership. Many of us represent multinational companies here. Many of us are representing, of course, local companies. And are we bringing in the best of global and local to the governments here? I shared earlier about what we are doing in the area of sustainability. There is a lot of knowledge that we can bring and which we are bringing through our research and development efforts. So how do we bring this knowledge here? How do we join hands between public and private? And again, use the government, take the help from the government in these recycling efforts as well. The other big area where we can help and work with the government is in academic partnerships. Earlier today, we signed an MOU on engaging Emirati talent in the food sector. And a similar thinking, and I think you'll hear more about that tomorrow, is academic partnerships as well. And then, again, like in the packaging panel, it was spoken about, there is a lot more need to invest in communication. Communication about how recycling could be enhanced. So, going back, I think, if you remember that triangle that I showed, if we work with the retailers, if we work with the government, together we can deliver a much better solution and a much sustainable solution to our consumers. And there is a need for us to come together to fill this need for sustainable products, for waste management, recycling, circular economy, and above all, a healthier eating portfolio for our consumers. That is it from my side. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions or comments. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sumit, for a wonderful presentation. Just a question, you briefly touched upon a subject of sustainability over the retail and the complete supply chain bit of it. So one of the issues which we see here, especially in the Middle Eastern market and even in North Africa, is cold chain of especially your milk or dairy products supplied under cold chain, which is, we all know, refrigeration is not cheap. It's very expensive. It's not sustainable at all in long run. And we see more and more challenge. Till the time energy was cheap, it was acceptable. Now the energy costs, even in the GCC, is going up. So we see that as a challenge. So what you as a company are doing, how to address that challenge?
So your question is specifically, how are we dealing with energy cost inflation?
No, energy cost which is going into your supply chain, cold chain, distribution of dairy products. Because today in Middle East, also it's a bit linked to the perception of the consumer. If it is cold, it is fresh. Might not be true. So how you as a company are addressing that your product, if it could be transported in ambient temperature, for example, okay? So it will not consume, it will completely take out those refrigeration costs, what you have right from the trucks to even the retail shelves.
Yeah.
So are you looking at that in this region?
No, not in a huge way, I have to accept. In fact, today, most of our portfolio, and I showed the two brands that we sell here, most of our portfolio is actually an ambient portfolio. So all the Rainbow products are ambient. On our cheeses, we have chilled supply chain that runs through. But if I broadly look at what is happening in the market, if you take, let's say, a 5 to 10 year time frame, across the region, fresh products are growing way faster than ambient products. It is something that, it is a consumer trend, not just here, but across the world, that I think we will find difficult to reverse. And I'm not even sure if we need to try. So I think we need to accept that the market will move more and more from ambient towards fresh, and then we need to accept and deal with that change rather than try to reverse that change. And I think today, from the presentations that we heard earlier, there is a lot happening in that space to at least ensure that we are using renewable sources of energy. And that is the only suggestion I think I can make right now.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Sumit.
you, sir.
Thank you very much for this informative presentation. Actually, when we are talking about sustainability, then we have to tackle the elements of this issue. I believe that with the global warming and also the conflicts, the political conflicts worldwide, the issue of sustainability is very hard to imply. So I don't know how we will tackle this situation due to the fact that we are in extreme need for maintaining what we can say, the quality of food for the consumers. Thank you very much.
I didn't follow. Are you saying sustainability is hard to apply? Was that your question? Okay. It is also not a choice, sir. Today, we as an industry, we simply don't have a choice. We have to take responsibility for our carbon footprint generated through our supply chain and manufacturing, and we have to address it. And everybody is looking at us to address it. So even though it is difficult, even though the solutions are emerging, and there are a lot of sustainability experts in the room. I was talking to Yasmin, who looks after sustainability for Nestle. It is such a rapidly evolving space, and there is so much learning coming through. And I think it is our responsibility as a food sector to come together, learn from each other. I at least personally believe that sustainability shouldn't be an area of competition, but it should be an area of collaboration between us. And I think if we do join hands together, we can take it forward, and we should. With that, I think the timer is blinking crazily. I'd like to bring this to an end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sumit. We're going to our next speaker, who I believe is the only speaker today who might join us virtually. Am I right? Yes, our next speaker will bring us back to the Zoom mode, I believe. She brings over 28 years of experience and high representation in the food industry. Having worked at Diageo and Mondelez, she basically currently holds the title of the Global VP Corporate Affairs, Reputation and Sustainability with BRF. And she also holds the position of Chairman of the Board of ABIA, or ABIA, Brazilian Association of the Food Industry. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes. I believe we're dialing her up. And remember that famous phrase we all do when we're doing virtual meetings? You are on mute. Who does that? I always start the meeting when I'm mute over Zoom. I still do that till today. Unfortunately, I can't mute myself now, but I would have. Here she is. She's on mute. I told you.
BRF 10 years sustainability
Unmute her.
and the great initiatives we have implemented in our operations worldwide. But first, I'd like to tell you about BRF and the belief and purpose that move us over 100,000 employees from 98 different nationalities. We strongly believe that a better future for all increasingly demands quality food, and our purpose is to offer quality, taste, and practical food to people all over the world. We do this through sustainable management of a living, long, and complex chain that provides a better life for everyone, from the farm to the fork. Our team is built for passion, about passion to produce food. We operate based on 3 fundamental and non-negotiable commitments. Safety, it is a precondition for everyone that works with life and health. We seek to guarantee a very high quality production for the well-being of people. Integrity, it's acting ethically and transparently. Compliance with laws, rules, and regulations where we are based. Quality, from our services and process to our relationships. Quality must be present in all stages. The people in our company are our assets, and this is what make us different. Overall, our big numbers would be important to share with you that worldwide we have 39 manufacturing sites, 35 in Brazil and 4 abroad. Over 50 distribution centers, which 22 are in Brazil, and over 4 million tons of food we produce every year for almost 120 countries. In the region, it's important to highlight that we have 4 plants one in UAE, in Kizad, and the other 3 in Turkey. We have more than 6,000 employees in the region, and we have been in the market for more than 50 years, building the high quality and high reputation brand Sadia that has 38% of the preference of the consumers. It's important also to say that in Bambit, we are in Turkey, we are always, we have been the leader as well. Sustainability for us is embedded in the culture and in our vision for the 23rd development that we're gonna do. It's inside our strategy, it's inside of our actions, and we are tracking that. It's important also to say that we are working hard to produce food with less carbon emission, and also to assure that we are on the journey to commit to to a very important plan for us, that is the Net Zero 2040, that was BRF just committed in the middle of this year. We don't have all the answers, but we are sure that we are on the right track, bringing people, listening to experts, and bringing also our suppliers and consumers together. We have accelerated this ESG agenda, but we're doing this year. We have been doing this for the last 10 years. It's important also that last year we announced 22 public commitments that we are tracking every day, that is related to the origin or the traceability of the grains that we use. It's also related to the energy, having clean and renewable source of energy. And our commitment is to have at least 50% of all our need of energy coming from clean energy, like solar and wind, by 2030. Also, having 100% of recyclable, reusable, or biodegradable packaging by 2025. Reduce the consumption of water, and also having very close to our communities, work for education for food waste. It's also important for us to be close to the communities, and then we announced a commitment 400 million reais to invest to 2030 in our communities. We are one of the largest employees in Brazil. We are one of the largest employees in Turkey, and we do understand our responsibility on that. Also, we have commitments for gender equality. So we committed that by 2025, we're going to have 30% of women in the high leadership that we have in the company. Also, for animal welfare, being a company that produces animal protein, this is critical for us as well. We do understand there is a lot to do on that, but we are not doing this alone. We are doing together. We are investing in innovation. We are investing in our communities, so we can learn from that. We also create a governance that is very robust to really follow up on that, and then given also the ambition and the vision for us to pursue to be the company that we are really working to be. So from all that, we have been advancing in all marketing rankings, and using one important thing is to highlight that we are living the era of the hyper transparency. So it's not just a matter of doing it, it's a matter of telling, the narrative, the transparency with the numbers, talk with the stakeholders. So this is something that we have been very, very dedicated to. As I said before, we announced in June this year our commitment to a net zero by 2040. This is really a key point for us in all this journey of sustainability. So in our commitment, we want to reduce 35% of our emissions by scope 1 and 2, so the ones that are in our operations and generating of energy by 2030. And also we have a target for scope 3, that is 12%, 12.3%. So, and besides that, we're going to be neutralizing all residual emissions. This is something that is robust for a big company in our sector. I also would like to say that this is not just a commitment. We have been advancing faster on that. So we have now a sustainable grain purchase policy that really drives the origin, how we're going to buy, and the origin of it. And when a company like BRX moves in this direction, you move all the sector. So if you want to be a big player, if you want to become a big supplier of brands, you have to comply with that. And also, we announced in the last months 2 partnerships to assure the energy clean supply. So we are very committed to this journey. And also, I would like really to reinforce that we are not just doing this in our operations, but we also make possible for our stakeholders. So the farmers that work, they are our partners, we are also stimulating them to have clean source of energy. So we build a partnership with the Brazilian bank, and then they have credit to install solar panels in their farms. Also, we are doing understanding and doing tests about electric cars, and by that we are also investing and understanding the role of a company like us. So I'm very pleased to be here, to have the chance to present BRF, to have the chance to present what we have been doing. And as I said, we want to do this together. So I'm here for all your Q&A. Thank you so much.
Hello, I don't know if she can hear me. I just wanted to say hello from Dubai. Nice to virtually meet you, see you. I know usually nothing beats face-to-face communication, but she gets the plus of being on a large screen, so I think she beats us all with the impact. Do you have any, maybe we can squeeze in one quick question, considering she's all the way in Brazil, and I'm not sure what time it is right now. Does anyone have a quick question we can toss over to Grazielle before we let her go? I don't think so. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. I know we're a bit over on the time, so I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for being our guest for the day. We'll continue our conversation offline if you like, and we'll send you everything we need to discuss over. So I'm going to move over. We're already over 30 minutes. And introduce our next keynote speaker and let you know that we will be having agri-tech related roundtable upstairs. So I will introduce the next keynote now, and you'll see me disappear. If you are interested in agri-tech and you want to know more, you can join us in the roundtable, which will start at 4:30. So you may as well get a little bit of both. Our next keynote has over 20 years working for his company. He started basically around 2000. He held different positions in sales and marketing roles, senior positions spanning across many geographies as well, in the UK, Europe, Asia, as well as the Middle East. Please welcome, I'm not going to butcher your last name, but I'm going to take a strike, Duncan McCullough, General Manager, Mars Wrigley, Middle East and Africa. Did I say that?
Yeah, you got it spot on. Well done.
All right.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much. It really is great to be here, and in amongst so many people feeling so passionately about this subject, and hearing all the examples, even from the speaker before as well, hearing all of the commitments and the examples that everyone is having in this space. So I'm here, I'm also going to share with you actually some of our plans that we've got to create a healthy planet and a healthy society. Before I do that, just to introduce myself, I'm Duncan McCullough. I'm the General Manager for Mars Wrigley in the Middle East and Africa. In terms of the company name, I'm hoping that you've interacted with some of our products in the past. We're the world's leading manufacturer of chocolate, chewing gum, fruity confections, mints. So be it Galaxy, Galaxy Jewels, Snickers, M&M's, Extra, Skittles, Starburst. I think you're familiar with some of our brands. You may not know that we actually sell more pet care than we do confectionery. So we're part of a larger organization of Mars Inc., which has lots of different brands. And one thing to pull out about the company is actually that we are a family-owned business. And with this family ownership comes actually quite a lot of freedom. Freedom to make choices around the people, around planet, around our performance. Closer to home, this is us here in Dubai. This is our hub here in Dubai. This is where a lot of us are based. We also have 3 factories around the region as well. So we've got a factory in Egypt, one in Kenya, and one in Saudi. We've got just over 1,000 associates, and the business is about $1 billion, representing about 40 different nationalities here as well. So, this is what we're about. This is our purpose. To create better moments to make the world smile. Nothing quite puts a smile on your face like that joy that you get when you're having that moment or you're gifting that moment to a friend, to a loved one, to someone in the family. And we continue to grow in our business, and we continue to grow due to the trust that our consumers put in us. Yeah, those brands are a representation of the quality within our business. But with that trust actually comes a lot of responsibility, yeah? And that responsibility for us to change our world for future generations. Yeah, so the responsibility starts with us, with all of us, with businesses. I think it's time for us to really create a movement around this topic, for us all to come together and look beyond our own operations and much more towards the entire value chain and how we can work together to make a difference in this space. And we are committed to make a big difference in this area. So I'm gonna talk about our Sustainable Intergeneration Plan, which is our commitment to make the world a better place for future generations. So what is it? So it is a program which addresses some of the key areas of the UN's goals. So ambitious goals, which are informed by science, they're informed by our principles. You can see them whether they're around climate, whether they're around people, but there are 3 key areas here. So they're around healthy planet, thriving people, and nourishing well-being. And we're taking these commitments really seriously. So we're investing over $1 billion into this program. And in actual fact, that goes through, the commitment goes through to all of the associates as well, to the managers and to the leaders in this business. So our pay, my pay, is linked to us achieving these goals. So we're taking it seriously. Now, this slide I don't really need to say a lot more on because I think everyone has already said. So our regional governments are accelerating the climate and the environmental agenda. Yeah. So look, the fact that sustainability is a big theme here at the Expo, the UAE's bold commitments to be carbon neutral by 2050, Saudi's Vision 2030 agenda to create a green and circular economy. We're surrounded by this, so we must act now. And I want to tell you about 3 areas where we're really trying to make a big difference. And this is around climate, around plastics, and around thriving people, where you can see the ambitious goals that we have on the slide there. On climate, I'm also really excited. So it was only a couple of weeks ago that Mars actually made this announcement to say that we are also going to be net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. But I think more importantly, and what I'm going to give you as well, is some examples of what we're already doing and the fact that we're already acting now. So since 2015, Mars has reduced its greenhouse gas emissions by 18% through combating deforestation, through renewable energy sources within our sites. And just to put it into perspective, that's the equivalent annual emissions of a small city. Closer to home, in our sites, in our factories, I think the key word here for me is about awareness. It's still about building awareness amongst all our associates as well, because they're the ones who are often coming up with the solutions to our problems. And some examples of what we're doing in our site. So we're expanding solar energy, so now 30% of the energy in our Kenya site is from solar energy. We're reducing our energy efficiency. We've reduced our baseload energy efficiency by about 50%. Again, just to try and put it into perspective, that's the equivalent of about 600 homes' usage of energy a year. Similarly with water, we've reduced the amount of water that we use. A lot of water is needed to make the products as well, so again to the equivalent of about 100 homes a year. And I'm pleased to say that all our factories are zero waste to landfill. The next subject's about packaging, and I'll just show you a quick video on that. So yeah, so as it says, there's no such thing as a sustainable product in unsustainable packaging. And in the packaging space, we've got two real focus areas. The first is about removing unnecessary packaging. The second one is about, and we've heard this word a lot, about circularity. So it's about redesigning for circularity. And with some of our products, this is quite hard to do because they're quite small. There's not a system which really supports them either. So I think just a couple of examples, and they're only small examples here in the region, but good ones to share is, so, you know, the Galaxy Jewels casket, which you're used to having. So we're trying to introduce that now in tins in our key seasons to reduce the amount of plastic that we use. And also a little bit of a plug for a new premium chocolate product that we've just launched called Galaxy Fusions. You'll see that now. That's been actually released in paper and board packaging rather than the normal sort of flow wrap that would normally be around our Galaxy products. So the next one I'll talk about is thriving people. And here I wanted to share the work that we're doing on responsible sourcing. And this applies to mint, it applies to palm oil, but specifically here I'm going to talk about cocoa. And we really need to work, obviously, in order to tackle this, we need to work closely with our suppliers, but it's actually the people really close to these products. So it's the farmers themselves who can make a big difference here. And through our Cocoa for Generations program, we've got some really strong plans to protect children, preserve forests, increase farmer income. And those are all the things that we're doing today, as well as creating a pathway to a sustainable supply chain for tomorrow and really empowering the families themselves. In Middle East Africa, I'll share two slightly different examples. There's a lot of talk, obviously, around sort of inclusion and diversity in general and our commitments here, but I'll give you a couple of different examples here. They're both examples from Kenya, but also we're rolling out the programs elsewhere in Middle East Africa. So on the left-hand side there, you have a project called MAWA. And what we do here, we go into the most impoverished areas within Kenya, specifically in Nairobi. And we give people opportunities to sell our products. They're products we wouldn't normally be able to get to these places. So there is a mutual win here for us in terms of extending our distribution, and for the society in terms of really giving these people hope, ambition, opportunity, employment, education. We refer to them as entrepreneurs. And in Kenya, we now have over 1,000 of these entrepreneurs. And this makes up actually 15% of our Kenya business. On the right-hand side there as well, it's understandable. There are often sort of oral care, oral hygiene issues in many of the countries that we have in our region. So what we've done here is we've linked up with the Kenyan Dental Association, and we've reached over 20,000 children through approaching schools in the last 2 years to really educate them about the importance of oral care and oral hygiene. So that's it. The three areas are priorities where we're trying to make a big difference here. So the net zero by 2050, and actually, in actual fact, 27% reduction by 2025, 100% designed for circularity, and really making a difference to 500,000 people's lives through our Thriving People project. So we recognize that fixing these problems is a generational challenge, yeah. We're building lasting partnerships, and this is an invitation as much as anything else. So we absolutely don't have all of the solutions here. I'm sharing you some examples. They might be the tip of the iceberg, yeah, but together I think we can really make a difference in this place. So I would welcome to partner with other organizations, with government entities to make a big difference here. So if you'd like to know more about our Sustainability in a Generation plan, there's a link, and you can always see me afterwards. That sounds a bit school teacher-esque, or just link into one of our social media sites, and we can talk more on the subject. But thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to share our plans. Thank you.
We have a panel coming up. I'd like to invite Wael Ismail. Wael is the VP of Corporate Affairs at PepsiCo. And Wael, I'll leave it to you to introduce your panel and your panelists.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to moderate this panel with my distinguished panelists. So if I can please ask them to join us on the stage. Jesus, Gagandeep, Stephen, Sophie, and Ahmed, if you can please join us to the stage. Hi, pleasure. Hey, Steve. Whatever you like. So I think we're continuing with our theme of sustainability, which I think has been discussed through different perspectives today. But I think today we have on this panel, I think distinguished speakers that cut across, I think, the entire value chain. And I think that is important to hear about practical solutions. We've heard a lot about commitments, in 2030, 2040, 2050, but I think today is also good to hear things happening on the ground from across the panel. So let me start off just quick introductions. So Jesus Gutierrez, he's the Managing Director of NJ Solutions with over 25 years of experience in energy efficiency and the renewable sector. So pleasure to have you with us. Mr. Gagandeep Singh, he's the Managing Director of SAFCO, a leading company in food distribution across the GCC and MENA. Mr. Ahmed El-Shal, who's the Secretary General for Danone, covering a lot of things: corporate affairs, regulatory affairs, compliance and legal, as well as sustainability. He's also a pharmacist by background. Mr. Steve Ross, he's the Director for Added Value Products at Temmia, and he also comes with a distinguished career in food and beverages across as well different fields. And last but not least, of course, Ms. Sophie Kor?
Perfect.
Sorry. Head of Sustainability and Strategy and Programs at Spinneys. So thank you so much for all of you for joining. So we'll try to do this in, we'll pose some questions to the audience, but we'll open it up as well to the group, and we'll try to keep the answers like we agreed, for 2 to 3 minutes. So if we can start with you. So from an energy perspective, what we want to ask the entire panel is, sustainability, we all talked about it today. Why is it important to you, I think, personally, but also from a company perspective, and how are you driving it within your own organization? So if we can start from the panel, starting from Jesus downwards, and then we'll take it from there. So if I can hand it to you, Jesus.
Thank you, Wael. Yeah, obviously, we've seen this morning how sustainability is now part of the company's strategy in the food industry. It cannot be in any other way. And energy obviously plays a key role. If you look at the value chains of the food industry, you will see that starting from the sourcing, from the livestock farming, and continue with the processing, the packaging, the distribution, the retailing, is very water and energy intensive. So therefore, there are quite a few opportunities for companies like ENGIE, to provide our services and to help our customers to reduce the carbon footprint. Yeah, obviously, as you go through the value chains, the way that these energy conservation measures can be implemented is very different. Yeah, as a company, we are more focused on processing industry, where we can develop solutions from waste to energy. From energy efficiency and from renewables. Yeah.
Perfect. If we can hand it over to you as well, Gagandeep. Yeah, I think your mic probably works.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Gagan Sahani. I represent SAFCO Group of Companies. We are a leading food distribution company in the region. We work with all the major hotels, airlines, ship supply companies, catering companies, schools, and hospitals. So we are the latter part of the supply chain. We bring in food and commodities from all over the world and distribute it within the region. So the process starts from the base, from the sourcing perspective, while we partner with the right principals who are investing today and tomorrow the future of the companies in the sustainable solutions. The second part of it is the warehousing. From the way the warehouses are built, the way they are operated with zero waste management systems, good warehouse management systems, we try to reduce as much as wastage and consume as low as energy as we can. Moving on to the fleet management, we try to train our team, try to train them to use lower fuel, maximize the output, consolidate the trucks so that we do not have any idle fleet. We have good optimization and resources. And then end of the day, the products, we keep investing and bringing in products which are today the need of the industry. So both food and non-food, we bring in products. We invest in non-food products. We have our own brand called EcoTouch for disposable and biodegradable packaging solutions, as well as we have partnered with brands like Soul, which is our own in-house brand, as well as Wildlife Flora for good food solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm really proud to present Danone here at Future Food Forum and being part of this remarkable and amazing Expo 2020 experience. At Danone, we share a belief that we can change the world through food. Our mission is to bring health through food to as many people as possible. It's actually a call to all our consumers, to everyone who has a stake in food, to join the current ongoing food revolution. At Danone, we are aiming to inspire much more healthier and sustainable food and also drinking and eating habits. This is in line with our mission, One Planet, One Health, which we strongly believe that our health and our planet health are connected together. Also, we are very committed to operate here in Middle East in a sustainable, inclusive, and high committed manner, with a big ambition to become a B Corp certified by 2025. B Corp is a movement of company verified to meet the highest standard of social and also environmental criteria by using business as a force for good. We have a very strong commitment to impact people's health locally by offering more sustainable portfolio and also offering alternative nutrition solution, and we have a very strong commitment to preserve the planet by fighting climate change, by also strengthening the circular economy, protect water, find packaging innovation, and working in an inclusive manner. I think all this movement, all these actions are showcasing how sustainability is very important and part of our DNA at Danone. The way I look into it, it's a kind of operational model for our company, and it become a must and crucial for business.
Thank you. I think this microphone works, so thanks anyway. Hi, my name's Steve. I'm from Tanmir Food Company, and it's a pleasure to speak with you today. Tanmir Food Company is part of the Al Dabar group of companies, which all work with three guiding principles. The first one, which should be no surprise, is to earn. It's earning. The second one would be giving, and the third one is sustaining. Earning, obviously, for our stakeholders, our shareholders now. Giving, which is giving back to the consumers, giving back to the environment, as well as the communities. And when it comes to sustaining, it's about laying the foundation to have a greener planet and pollution-free for tomorrow. By protecting the waterbed, cleaning the air, and minimizing pollution, we can sort of follow this third principle. And it really allows us to have longevity, not only with the company, but also with the planet as well in mind. And of course, it's the right thing to do. So that's good for the company, good for me personally, and hopefully, therefore, good for everybody here. I think it's been on the agenda in Tanmir and Dabar for a long time. However, I think the attitudes of the consumer are really dictating how things are moving and how quickly things are moving, which is great to see. It's a word that's been mentioned a number of times already, and I'm sure you've heard it. We have not only the opportunity, but we also have the responsibility to do something about this. And we want to make more protein for the world as a company, of course we do. But we don't have to do that just by protecting the planet. we can actually improve the planet in the process. We've got a dedicated team within Tanmia, and it's part of, as I say, the guiding principles, so it's on everyone's agenda within the organization. That's why it's so important.
Thanks. Just in case it doesn't. Oh, can you hear me? I'll lean over. Hi, everybody. I'm Sophie from Spinneys. I'm sure many of you who live in the region know Spinneys. We are a premium retailer of around 70 stores. And sustainability matters very much to Spinneys. It's really been in the DNA of how the company has operated for 60 years, focusing on providing the highest quality produce, focusing on being a local champion, and actually really focusing on the idea of being the best rather than the biggest. So we're not a big multinational corporation. We started here in the region, and a lot of the values in the way we do our work, working directly with farmers and suppliers, for example, to help them forecast their supply so that we give them security of supply, for example, is one of the ways over the 60 years in which we've been doing things in a sustainable way. However, when we talked in advance of this panel, we were sort of thinking about how the landscape has changed in the past 2 to 3 years. And really what we've seen change from the outside in is an absolute engagement from the customer on sustainability. So the voice of the customer is absolutely telling us that this is something that's on their mind. And I think in the past, where maybe we had lots of questions around the fundamentals of the food quality or the food safety, I think there's a lot of trust for the Spinneys customer now in that we've sorted those things out, that they're happy, they trust us to be providing high quality food, for example, free of chemicals, free of pesticides. So we're now getting many more questions about the wider impact of the customer purchase. Where is the food that I'm not buying going at the end of the day? We actually get lots of our store managers telling me that customers are asking us what we're doing about food waste. Not just about what's happening, for the sort of food safety side, but what's the impact of what's going on in the store and how is Spinneys taking responsibility. So that's a very, very big signal we're getting from the customer. And we get lots of questions on all sorts of topics. So very engaged, asking lots of questions. Some more emotive than others. We do get lots of people who feel very upset about plastic bags, for example, just being very honest. And so that's a big driver. The second driver for us in terms of sustainability and the future and what's changed in the past 2 to 3 years is we've reached 60 years as a business, been here from the beginning, and the company wants to be here for the future. And you can't really have a conversation about the future without thinking about sustainability. So we've been reflecting as a business across all levels on our purpose. And I think, Mars was telling us about, the importance of having a purpose beyond profit. So we've been doing a lot of reflecting as a business on that, which ties in with a sustainability plan and strategy for the next 5 and the next 10 years. So looking forward to sharing more about those plans with you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you all for your reflections. And I think what we have on the panel is that we thought we have the entire really value chain with us. And I think it's an interesting perspective to hear, just picking up from where Sophie left off about the consumer. I mean, we all at the end of the day in the food and beverage, we're focused on the consumers, providing them best quality products, safe, but what they need in terms of choices. And sustainability is going to be at the heart of this. So what we thought is that would give you a perspective across the value chain for you to see the impact that we're having and how it really translates and ends into shelves and stores. So Jesus, if we can also start with you. I mean, at the end of the day, sustainability is about, not only protecting the planet, but also making it better and leaving it in a much better shape. And at the end of the day, everything that we do really builds up to that larger climate change agenda. So if we can, hear from you to start, and then we'll go, because we're represented with you. We have, distribution, we have brand owners, Tanmia Group, as well as Spinneys, of course. So we'll go through the different value chain, but if we can start with you, telling us about the larger climate change agenda, and how does that really, help us get to the shelves at the end of the day. And I think maybe Ahmed, you want to pass on the mic, if you don't mind, to...
Yeah, thank you, Wael. For sure, I mean, we want to support our clients in the journey, through making this transition, the transition to carbon zero or to become a more sustainable company. And as you can see, we have here in this morning, again, this is another way of doing business, not because your client is requesting, but because the government is also supporting that, because there are technologies that can allow you to do that, yeah? And I would like to focus from the energy perspective more on the technology, because that's what is allowing a company like Engie to provide services now that are more cost effective to our customers, yeah? So obviously the customer now differentiates and are asking my clients in this case to become more sustainable. Now how they can do that, yeah? In the food processing industry, there are many different ways that companies can be more sustainable when it comes to energy consumption. One of them, obviously, is to reduce the energy consumption. They say that energy efficiency is the first renewable source, because it's the energy that you don't consume. And it's totally true. Before even thinking about putting solar panels, the first idea is, okay, how can I reduce my consumption from 100 to 70 in a way that is cost effective, yeah? There are so many technologies today, I could spend hours to talk about it, but the good news is today those technologies are available, whether it is to use the waste to convert into energy, waste to energy, or waste heat recovery systems, or new air conditioning or refrigeration systems that consumes only a fraction of what used to be, yeah? So this is one key element, is how we can reduce energy consumption. Then how we can reuse that, some of the outputs, and recycle into the value chains. That would say the second element. And obviously the third one is the use of renewable sources, yeah? And all combined, and I would say only the combination of these three factors will allow to many of our customers to really become zero carbon, yeah? It's just not one initiative, but it's the combination of different elements, yeah? And I think today, maybe 10, 15 years ago, talking about zero carbon was like almost a utopia, to do it. Today, it can easily be done, yeah? That's the good news about it.
If we can maybe move on to, I think just to go through the value chain, maybe from an agricultural perspective, I know you're on the added value piece. Maybe if we can hear from, a lot of us talked about farm to shelf or farm to fork. So it all starts really with the agricultural piece.
Certainly,
so maybe you can talk to us a bit about that, Steve.
Okay. Tamir Food Company is a vertically integrated company, as you may know, so I could talk about pretty much every aspect of the value chain, but as we're talking here primarily about the agricultural part, I will obviously focus on that. Tamir produces a large amount of byproduct. I won't call it waste, because there are opportunities within everything. And I'll focus on just a couple of the key areas that we are addressing already. If it can't be sold, offal can be wasted, unfortunately. And so we are already working on ways to convert that to feed if it can't be sold. I won't go through any numbers at this point. We haven't got much time to go through that level of detail. But I will say that tanmir.com is a great website, and there's a lot of information on there to understand more. The second part will be about litter, and that is the floor of the farms where the chickens are housed. A significant amount of that, it needs to go somewhere, but we are now finding active ways to convert that into energy, but also into fertilizer. So it's about the repurposing of this product, and working very well for us. The third element that we use a considerable amount of is water. So it's about not only can we reduce the water we're using, but of the water we do use, can that be repurposed? And we've started a million tree initiative, where by 2025 we will plant 1 million trees in part of Saudi. And in 2019 we planted 88,000. 2020 we planted 200,000. And as we grow, we will continue to add to that afforestation. I mentioned about the website, and those are just some key areas from a farming agricultural point of view. When it comes to the added value, we've obviously got the production facilities that we're using, and they need energy to run them and the energy efficient equipment to run them. We're looking at alternative sources of that energy already with regards to solar panel, power being one of the key ones. I think that was a snapshot from this side.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Ahmed, from Danone's perspective, what are the things that you're much more engaged in now? Especially, I think the packaging is an area that you're invested in. So if you can tell us a little bit more about that piece.
Yeah, sure. In Danone, we have a strong commitment for packaging that 100% of our products will be recyclable or reusable by 2025. This is Danone globally. If we shed light on Middle East, we are achieving also a great progress. For example, we remove all plastic straw for our medical nutrition portfolio. Also in our infant formula Aptamil, one of the biggest brands, we go for an innovative packaging from dual packaging to an easy tin, which significantly reduce the plastic emission. Also, I'm really proud to capture here that we launched last year our first 100% recyclable Evian water, which is Arbit bottle. It is totally label-free, and it's in line also with our initiatives that we act for water and to offer our consumer the most sustainable drinking solution ever. There is some examples from packaging, what we are doing in global and what we are doing on Middle East level. Talking about packaging will allow me also to shed light on our also activity in food waste as a part also of our sustainability journey. So for food waste, we are all aware about how it's really important to manage food waste as it's part of our sustainable development goal, which is created by United Nations. And at Danone, we are proactively engaged with all relevant stakeholders, with government, retailer, and with our consumer to raise the awareness about food waste. Also, we are partnership with national food banks to support all population, especially the populations that really need this kinds of support as a part of our CSR activity. And we are leverage the power of our manifesto brand to engage with consumers and to educate them more about the importance of managing food waste. I think these two examples, focusing on innovative packaging and focusing in raise the awareness of food waste, are really key pillars for the journey of sustainability to have it in the entire full value chain.
Thanks a lot, Ahmed. I think your journey on RPET, of course, is something very, very important. Can you tell us more from the distribution side? You shed light on your opening remarks, but more about what can be done from a fleet perspective, distribution perspective. I mean, if you have the most sustainable, I think the gentleman from Mars is no longer here, but he said there is no sustainable, product in unsustainable packaging, but the same can apply. If you have the most sustainable product, but you're transporting it in a non-sustainable way, I don't think that adds a lot of value as well. So can you tell us more from SAFCO's perspective, how are you managing that area?
Thank you. So from our perspective, we find that a lot of wastage can be reduced by actually launching the right product that the market needs. A lot of time the wastage comes in from having a perceived concept which someone has experienced or seen somewhere, but when they bring down to the market, the consumer has zero interest in trying, experimenting, or using that profile. So for us, research and development, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, energy. We see patterns, we talk to the consumer, be it in the hotel industry or in the food service industry. We talk to them, we understand what they require. We bring in the product in the best possible and the most cost-effective manner, launch it, and then build on the volume based on that, and then explore it with the other clients as possible as well. This is a tried and tested profile that we have been doing last 10-15 years. We start off small, we experiment with products, we bring in innovative food concepts as well as non-food concepts, because UAE or the region where we are today is ever evolving, ever changing. So what we bring in today might not be needed tomorrow. So we like to keep up with the trends, but yet be very, very careful with what we bring in to avoid wastage at all points. And the medium you bring in, be it by air, road or sea, you have to make sure that you have enough systems, enough structure, the right people, the right mentality in place, and act as a responsible supplier. We have also tied up with the Red Crescent Society. We work closely with the food bank, with all the consumers. You know, we encourage them to make sure that the ordering process is optimal so that there is zero wastage. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. I think, Sophie, now is probably the moment of truth. If you have, for the consumers to really pick up the products and to pick up the sustainable products. So can you tell us a bit more from Spinny's perspective? You engage with consumers on a daily basis. How are you seeing it, and what are the things that you are doing to probably nudge them in that direction?
So I think, just to be clear as well, Spinny's, wherever we own production or manufacturing, working on all the similar things that the guys are mentioning, just to make it clear that we are busy working on all these projects as well. But as you say, the consumer is often sort of pointed at as, in many ways, the biggest challenge we've got in the system. For example, we know that consumers need to create demand for us to go and create the products that are more sustainable. We need them to be buying and voting with their wallets, as it were, in order to start shifting and transitioning the whole food system. Food waste is happening in the home more than in any part of the supply chain. So it gets very complex and very messy with consumers. And at Spinny's, what we want to be doing is playing our role in supporting a transition towards healthy and sustainable living in the UAE, for our customers, but for society, wider society in the UAE. And what that will involve is two kind of approaches. One is supporting a long-term education program, a transition towards helping people understand why it matters to eat well, why it matters to make sustainable choices, because if we don't know why it's important, we probably won't ever change our behavior. So that's one part, is us supporting that long-term journey towards transitioning, the way we think about food. And the other end is our ability to influence as a retailer the day-to-day choice making of the customer, as you say. We sit at this very influential point in the supply chain between the production side and the consumption side. And every day we have thousands and thousands of shoppers come into our stores. Every time they do, it's an opportunity for us to nudge them towards a sustainable choice. So on the long term, we have just we are launching to the public next week, but we've just started to roll out a nationwide education program. We called it Farm to Table, which is the idea of farm to fork, but we know that farm to table translates well into Arabic, so that was important for us. And it is a series of modules which are going to be embedded into the school curriculum, which teach children about healthy and sustainable diets, and why they matter, what does a good diet look like. It's all very fun, very engaging, and very modular and easy for schools to deliver. And this week, the hardworking teachers are actually attending all the teacher training in the 50 schools who've already signed up for this program. So we're very proud to be doing this. We feel it's very, very important, and it's something that we're just putting back into the future of the country because, we believe it matters. There's literally no other reason. So that's one big program that's being launched this year. And then on the other side, on the day-to-day side, we are trying to run our promotions and our marketing with more emphasis on sustainability. So, for example, in January, most retailers will run a big program on Veganuary or a big campaign talking about vegan products. And we chose this year to really focus on the power of plants. Did a much bigger campaign than we normally would, because I was planning it. But we really wanted to create the association between plant-based diets, which we know are so important for helping us move towards a more sustainable food system, and the idea of strength and protein power and muscle power. So we ran a collaboration with a plant-based brand, Beyond Meat, and ourselves, for customers to try Beyond Meat, try the plant-based option for a chance to win a top-of-the-range sports bike, trying to link the idea of power activity and health with the plant-based option. So it was incredibly successful. We saw huge uplift in the sales of that particular brand and the category overall. And we know it had really positive feedback. So we are constantly thinking of ways we can both nudge, switch the customer behavior in the store, and there's lots and lots more we've got coming in our plans for that. Yes, and also at the long time thinking about how we can transition, change values, change beliefs and behaviors towards sustainability through education as well.
Perfect, thanks.
No, sorry.
Thanks a lot, Sophie, and thanks for the other panelists. Maybe we can open it up to the floor. I have a couple of more questions to the panel, but if you have any questions, we can take them and then we can. There is a mic behind you.
My question mainly to Sophie for the retailers. We see the classical model of having the relation raw material supplier, food manufacturer, then retailer. And by that, the retailer come in the end of the chain, utilizing any technology raw material suppliers can give to the food producers. And my question is about, in some markets, we've seen retailers getting quite active, linking to the raw material supplier and run more of a roundtable discussion between the three angles to reduce food waste, look into solutions to have more shelf life on the shelf, not to dump those that's 2 days before expiry. What do you think about that as a retailer? We didn't see that model happening in the Middle East. What's your take on it?
I think if I can hear you correctly, because there's a bit of a sound disparity, sorry, between the stage and the floor. I think what you were asking is how can we work across the value chain to tackle issues around food waste? And is that the question?
Yeah, more or less, like utilizing the knowledge that raw material make input to the food manufacturers.
Absolutely. So actually, my lovely colleague Sharon is in the room, who has been working on this. We've been working on it together. We've actually joined a global coalition as an example of this to tackle food waste. So there is a UN coalition which is formed as part of one of the SDGs to tackle food waste, and it's called the 10 by 20 by 30 coalition. And through this, we, the Spinneys, have signed up for this year. What we do is we will begin reporting our food waste according to global standards, but a key part of the program is that we actually invite suppliers and extend the invitation, as it were, to our manufacturers and suppliers to join this coalition. We meet regularly, share learnings and best practice around managing food waste, managing and reducing, of course. So there are so many of these initiatives out there, and I think we just have to make sure we connect in with them. But I totally appreciate your point. We shouldn't all be reinventing the wheel and running around trying to do things differently. We also desperately need to measure food waste from a core baseline and get the global metrics on some of these challenges. So that's what this coalition will help us to do, for example. I hope that helps answer the question.
Thanks.
We can chat afterwards if we need.
Perfect. Any other questions from the floor? All right, if you have any questions, please feel free to pick up the mic and just let us know. So I think we all talked about, how to drive sustainability across the value chain. You've all shared examples, experiences. But at the end of the day, this work requires a lot of investments. It's not something that's easy to come by. So there is really a huge part or a huge role for innovations to play a role to help us address those green premiums that are there, whether it's in distribution or in packaging. So maybe if we can hear from the panel about different ways that you're thinking about of bridging that gap between the current practices and how we can do things more sustainably, and how can we look at this not only as a cost but really as an investment into the future. So maybe Jesus, I can start with you if you don't mind, to share some of your thoughts on that element.
Of course, innovation is key to any business. As I've said before, understanding the market trends bringing sustainable products, understanding the whole value chain is of utmost importance, and especially going ahead, the need for innovations will continue to drive us forward. The market trends continue to change in this region. The people in this region continue to, it's a transitionary phase. People come in with new ideas, people come in with new concepts. The restaurants, the hotels, the F&B, the QSRs, everyone keeps trying out new things. The place where we are sitting out is also a new concept which has come through, and it will drive us forward. But the likes and the innovation concepts need to be brought through, and we continue to invest into that. We attend all the exhibitions globally. We talk to the right people from the industry. We see where the concepts have worked well, where the concepts have not worked well, the reasons, what the success factors were, and what made that concept in a particular market not work to their advantage. We bring in the right resources, we bring in the right investments, and again, it's all about trial, it's all about putting in an experiment, but minimizing the risk and the loss and the wastage. If you can hit that parameter well, everything is achievable and everything is sustainable. If you do not hit that parameter, how many ideas you bring in, and end of the day, it all is a waste, and then we try to liquidate it here and there, it doesn't work. So progress is important, innovation is important, minimizing the risk and wastage is a social responsibility which we at SAFCO take very seriously, and we are lucky to be in the environment where everybody is so particular and cautious about that. Thank you.
Thanks again. Maybe, Jesus, if we can also get your thoughts on the same.
Sorry?
If we can get your thoughts on the same question, so how can innovation really help us address that green premium gap and really help us accelerate that journey? Because today, a lot of companies want to do this, but there is a barrier and a hurdle when it comes to cost and investments that, we're all committed to this goal, but it's about how can we accelerate it?
Now, innovation takes a key part, not only providing the solutions, but also making it more affordable.
100%.
And I'm going to give you a very simple example. When we started the business 10 years ago here in the UAE, the typical lighting retrofit, changing the halogen lamp for LED. The cost of the LED at that time was 90 dirhams per lighting point. Today it's 20 dirhams. So that means that the payback, dramatically reduced by 4. If in addition to that, you consider that the electricity price in Dubai increased by almost 60% between 2008 and 2011, then for one, you have the CapEx going down, and the other side, the value of the savings going up, And these two elements, were a game changer, and now you can see most of our clients have LEDs. There's no question about it. There will be other instances in there, air conditioning system, building insulation, process manufacturing, where will happen through the same process. So I think that's the good news. The innovation is helping a lot, And again, examples like the solar panels. You have how the price have declined over the last 25 years. Now it's becoming even cheaper to produce energy from the solar than from the fossil fuel power plants. So this is happening, and I was talking with a colleague before, and I said every month we have a supplier knocking on our door saying, "I have this solution," whether it's on waste management, on water treatment plants, or energy conservation measures. So there are quite plenty of opportunities right now in the market.
Thank you. Ahmad, from your side?
Yes, for us, I think innovation it is at the heart of our organization. All companies have a very strong plans to accelerate innovation. If I can give some examples, for example, here in Middle East, we are trying to accelerate and being very fast in introduction of plant-based and organic foods. Because there is a lot of trends behind this sector. Also, we are looking into a very strong execution plan behind different aspects. Innovation for portfolio, innovation bringing more innovative product, innovation for supply chain and supply points. For example, we heard from my colleagues about all companies' ambitions is become carbon neutral by 2050. If I can give example from Danone, we have a supply point in Ireland. It becomes the first baby supply point to be verified as a carbon neutral by cutting emissions. So this is also a great example about how to use innovation in packaging and to use innovation to support the climate change. So I think there is many pillars. We have to focus and have a strong execution criteria, either behind bringing more innovative portfolio, focus on local health issue, and design your portfolio in a way that people can benefit from this part of innovation, or work in your supply chain and in your supply point to implement and create a true innovative process in order to fulfill your commitment about sustainability.
Thanks. To keep on time, maybe if Steve, in a couple of minutes, you can add your perspective, and then we'll close with Sophie.
Certainly, thank you. With innovation, I don't only look at it from a product point of view, which is great to have and to sell a new item. It's about how you make the products that you can be innovative with. And we've been through the Industrial Revolution a long time ago. They say we're at 4.0 now. And that's about having smart information. So you should be able to become more efficient. You should be able to do it sustainably. And therefore, it should be good for not only the company and the profitability, but the consumer at the end of the day as well, and the planet.
Thank you, Steve.
Yes, I think for Spinneys, there are various sort of business cases for sustainability, lots of opportunities to cut cost, optimize, be more efficient. And in the innovation side, I think it's really for us around how we engage the consumer and bring all the different aspects of our business together to create change for the customer largely. So as an example, we have for many years where we are to try and manage food waste in our stores, we're actually repurposing some of the produce for value-added foods. So things that go into our salads at the deli have been made with very safe and very fine product, but which the customer may not be wanting to buy off the shelf because it's coming closer to expiry. But it's absolutely safe to be put into food for consumption in a value-added product, as an example. But yes, I think there are tons of opportunities for us. We could be here all day listing the opportunities for us to innovate. Yes, that's just one example.
Thank you, Sophie, and thank you for all my fellow panelists. I think your perspectives are very important to help us look at really the entire value chain, because there is no single company that can do this on its own. And I think, like I shared in the morning, from our side at PepsiCo, for example, we're really looking at this as an end-to-end transformation. And I think what you shared today, I think, is a reflection that we can all get there, but if we can all move at the same time and really do it across the value chain. So thank you for your time and for your insights today. Sumit, I think this is the last session for the day, or do you want to close?
Yes, so thank you very much, Wael, and thank you fellow panelists. So indeed, this is the last session for the day. Just a very quick roundup of what we went through. We kicked off in the morning with the CEO roundtable with Her Excellency Miriam Al-Maheri. It was a very good session. She was very open in taking questions. Some she answered directly, some she took back to come back later on. We had the MOU signing ceremony. And then for the rest of the day, the theme really that was coming across was sustainability, whether it was sustainability in food manufacturing or sustainability in packaging, recyclability. That was today. I'm quite excited for tomorrow. Tomorrow we go a lot more commercial. We will talk about consumer trends. We'll talk about innovation. We'll talk about market reboot, digital disruption, and the one that I'm really looking forward to about women in food. So lots more exciting stuff to come tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you back here. And I think we close off with a short video of some video highlights. Thank you everyone for joining, and see you.